This here is Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic issue 26. We begin with Drakon back in his own universe. Since he disappeared from his own world, his generals had rebuilt some of their forces, and apparently they have new capabilities. That's something we could be expecting to see in future issues. Drakon enters through a door and slams it shut. On the other side, we see Drakon's friend. It's Finster, but not as we know him. Drakon calls him Finster 5, and the two of them embrace, so they really are friends. There's no explanation for why Finster 5 has some of Alpha's parts, nor why the two of them are so close. Hopefully we'll learn more in the future. Drakon tells Finster 5 that it's time for them to embark on their great campaign, so this is something that the two of them had thought about before. Finster 5 tells Drakon there are obstacles which he does not have the solutions for, but Drakon shows him a jar containing Ninja, saying he has the solutions. It reminds me of Ninja in the TV series when he was captured. And now we move on to Tommy's funeral. Billy gives his speech and breaks down in the middle of it. It's good to see because it shows how close Tommy and Billy were following the events of the first story arc. We then flash back to the Rangers trying to save Tommy at the command center. Alpha was trying to revive Tommy with blue energy, transferring energy to him. Trini says Tommy didn't have a pulse and wasn't sure that the Morphin Grid could save him. Kimberly didn't want to hear it and broke down in tears. Jason began comforting her, but Zordon confirmed the Rangers' worst fears. Tommy's gone. So once again a Power Ranger dies on Zordon's watch, so he accepts the responsibility that he failed to protect a Ranger. Trini and Billy are unsure of what to do, not wanting to subject Tommy's mother to the worry of the first arc when he disappeared. Jason decides they have to grieve, so the police come and report Tommy's death. Jason then inherits the Green Ranger powers. Bulk and Skull are even affected by the loss of Tommy. And then we end up back at the funeral. Saying goodbye to Tommy has been tough for Jason. This is a more emotional departure than the TV series, when Tommy simply lost his powers. Alpha suddenly contacts Jason and Zack, informing them that Jen has woken up. She explains that she's a Time Force Power Ranger, but time is a bit broken. She shows the Rangers a timeline of their world and all the Ranger teams that follow after the Mighty Morphin era. They're amazed that Rangers would come after them, and Jen considers the Mighty Morphin team the Greats. We can see the Ranger teams here, like the Alien Rangers, Space, Lightspeed Rescue, Samurai, Megaforce, etc. It was a linear timeline to begin with, but things have changed. Jen tells Billy that Time Force theorized that the grid protected itself, but had to fracture Billy's world. It broke each era into pocket universes to protect from paradoxes and causality, so Jen cannot go further back in time because the timeline is broken. What happened in the past must stay that way because it's locked in place. They can only prepare for what comes next. So now we see the time of the Power Rangers Samurai. The Red Ranger here is not Jaden, but Lauren. And obviously the comics are different from the TV series, so this could be when Lauren, the true Red Ranger, returned. Or it could be somewhere completely different in this story. Anyway, Drakon and his army burst onto the scene. The Rangers think they cannot enter because the Shiba house is protected by the strongest symbol power they have. But then Drakon orders the dragon tanks to fire. The beams penetrate and Drakon's forces are through. Lauren tells the other Rangers to put their helmets back on, the same way Jason does, and they summon their spin swords. The Rangers use their symbol powers just like in the TV series to take on Drakon's sentries, but then Mia and Antonio get hit by a blast, and they demorph. Lauren tries to find out from Drakon why he's attacking them, but he tells her she's not entitled to a reason. Lauren is then about to be hit by 2 blasts, but Kevin uses his shield power to protect Lauren, although it does knock her over a cliff. Kevin and Mike are then captured, as Drakon orders the sentries to remove their morphers and to retrieve the Red Ranger. Back in the Mighty Morphin's world, Billy explains to the other Rangers that he's come up with a way not to go further back in time, but to go across it. That way, the Rangers can reach the Coinless and get to Drakon. But then the Rangers are alerted to trouble. Jen looks at the viewing globe and sees the Shiba house attacked. Alpha uses Billy's adjustments to the Black Dragon's parts and Jen's transportal device to teleport the Rangers to the Samurai's world. Now the Shiba house has been taken over by Drakon's forces. Zack wants to head straight in and take out the enemy, but Jason says they need to be smart about this. Also notice how Jason's shield is up already. In the original TV series, he would start out with his own powers, then summon the shield when he needed it. Maybe he felt he needed the extra power right from the start here. Anyway, Jen detects there's someone still out there, and it's Lauren, who has sentries right on her tail. The other Rangers teleport in, which surprises the sentries. They try to use the Dragon Cannon on the Rangers, which begins to make them demorph, but then Billy uses his Morph EMP, which stops the attack. However, the sentries still have their powers. I think there was a bit of a mistake here, as it looks like Trini is asking who the sentries are, but then Jason says we'll explain later. I think it should have been Lauren asking who the Rangers are. Anyway, all the Rangers teleport out to safety. Back in Drakon's lair, Finster 5 has the Samurizers hooked up to a machine. Notice how the Samurizers resemble more like the shoulder phones from the original Shinkenja series. In Samurai, the screens were a bit different in the American footage. Anyway, Finster 5 pulls a lever and Drakon is basically engulfed in energy. We see Drakon's suit change to adopt the Samurai Ranger's powers. Finster 5 learned from Ninja that each set of morphers access the morphin grid in the same way, so they only need one morpher from each team to accomplish what Drakon wants. I'm thinking to have every Ranger power available to him. And that's where the story ends. And now, on to the Blue Centurion. I'm not very keen on this anymore, as this issue story somewhat returns to the comical side. We see other robots which look ridiculous in design. The Chief looks like a robotic version of J.J. Jameson from Spider-Man, and even grills Blue Centurion in a similar way to Jameson grilling Peter Parker. He's pulling Blue Centurion off the case of the museum robbery. Blue Centurion tries to object, but the Chief is having none of it. Blue Centurion is adamant that the Power Rangers are the culprits, but the Chief says the Rangers are angels on the Earth. Centurion leaves the police station and seemingly departs to go after the Rangers himself. I liked the main story because the Mighty Morphin Rangers and Jen have now met Lauren. The crossover element is fun, and it's actually nice to see the Samurai Rangers in action, even though they got defeated. I enjoyed seeing Tommy dead, but as it's a comic book series dealing with alternate timelines and plot twists, I think Tommy will be brought back. So, a bit of a cop-out, I reckon, if it happens. I'd like to be proven wrong, but it's just typical comic book storytelling these days. As for the new adventures of Blue Centurion and Ninja, I'd like to see how it ends. I thought it'd be a bit more serious like Shattered Grid, but this issue has proved me wrong somewhat with the artwork and behaviour of the Chief. It's still interesting to see how it plays out, but it's not something that I'll be dying to see.